This session is on metadata API, some basics of that, and then we talk about some special scenarios that we run into and how to solve those. My name is Naveen Gabrani. I am a CEO of a company, S3 IT Services. We are a Salesforce consulting company based in India. We have 9 apps on App Exchange. We have about 30 people in India. My colleague Sanchit Tua, he is the expert on metadata API, so most of the session he'll be taking. Okay, so what we'll be talking today, we start with some basic things to set the stage. We talk about what is metadata API, how we can access it, what are the type of metadata operations, and then most of the session today we'll be talking about what are the typical scenarios that we run into, what are the common problems in metadata API, and how do we resolve those. What are the best practices in metadata API? Okay, so we all know what is data. So it's your customer information, your contacts, your opportunities, all that is the data we are aware of. Metadata is pretty much everything else. So what is displayed in a Salesforce instance, what is the business logic, all that is managed through your metadata. It is not just the presentation, the user interface, it's also the business logic that is included in the metadata. So as an example, pretty much everything that we talk about in Salesforce is considered metadata. So your objects, your fields, your workflows, your reports, your approval processes, profiles, Visualforce pages, Apex, everything is metadata. When we say metadata, we refer to everything. Now let's move on to the definition of metadata API. What is it? It's a programmable interface. It's an API that allows us to get information about metadata in another programming language. So let's say we want to get access, we want to search for some things from Salesforce, from Java, .NET, PHP, any modern programming language. We can use metadata API to access information, to update information. We can perform granular information, like we can get a particular field, we can create a new field. We can also perform a high-level operations like create an XML and deploy an XML to a new instance. We can get an XML which has all the field information, all the workflows, everything in a text and XML format. So those are kind of two different type of metadata API features that are available. This is a SOAP-based API. Traditionally, metadata API was asynchronous. So you make a call, you do not get the result immediately. But in summer 2013 release, this has become a synchronous API. So you get the results the moment you make a call. So the standard tools that we use, Eclipse IDE and Ant migration tool, they are built using metadata API. Ant migration, as you know, is a command line tool built on top of Ant, which allows you to deploy an XML file into a new Salesforce instance. Okay, let's take some business scenarios where metadata API is applicable, where it is useful. Let's say you're a consulting company and you want to deploy a similar configuration. Let's say you work in healthcare insurance domain. So many of your customers have similar requirements. So what you can do is you can write a Java program and then run it for a new customer. So whatever standard, you may have a standard feature set that you implement in all your customer instances. So that can be, let's say, it will create, let's say, a set of custom objects, custom fields, workflows, reports, Visualforce, everything. You can do it dynamically in a new instance by just writing some Java code. You don't have to manually set it up for every new customer if, let's say, all your customers have similar requirements. Another possible implementation is that, let's say, for a specific customer, the standard Salesforce user interface to create fields, objects is not that applicable. It's not that relevant. They want a different user interface for creating reports, creating workflows, creating fields. So you can build a completely new Java-based or .NET-based user interface that will be similar to the standard Salesforce. It will provide similar functionality, but a different user interface. The third one is another common application is taking backups. So you want to take a backup of your configuration, of your code, of your fields, workflows, etc. on a regular basis. You can write a Java, .NET, or PHP program. It'll run every night, get the information, store the XML files, and you can retrieve it back at a later date if needed. So that's like some basic introduction about what is metadata API, what are the applications. We now move on to a bit more technical details, and my colleague Sanchit will take over.
Sorry.
I can just keep this presentation is there. It's already loaded. These are for slides.
Okay, so we are going to talk about some of the differences between the CRUD-based and file-based metadata API that you can see here is that the CRUD-based is more granular and the file-based is deploy and retrieve, just those functions. So the main difference between those is basically we can control all of the point and click features using the CRUD-based operations, while there is some less control using the metadata file-based. So moving on to the next thing, we have some examples like we can use to create some custom objects, fields, page layouts, or whatever we can think we do in the point and click features of the Salesforce. So as of version 31 of Salesforce, it is supporting synchronous calls. Before it was asynchronous calls. So we have the availability of both of those, synchronous as well as asynchronous. And the main difference is that we will be getting the results right away using the synchronous calls. So these are some methods we make use of, some synchronous calls, like creating, updating, deleting, or asserting. So this is the create flow. I would like to show you, guys, like this is we call a create method and we pass the custom object right on it, and then we return the async result. So this is the asynchronous workflow you are looking at, and we check the status of the results, like if it is failed or if it is successful, and we get the ID of that as well. And we have the access to the deploy messages as well. So this is the flow, and the right bottom you can see that this is the extension base metadata. So we can recognize all of the XMLs which is coming from the metadata, and we can recognize those components which are extending those metadata in the tags. So this is like just creating those objects using the create command, and we have some objects and some methods while we retrieve those things using the tool that we have available for the metadata operations. So moving on to the next slide, we have the file-based metadata calls, which is the XML representation of the Salesforce organization, and that can be used for moving the components from one organization to the another. And it requires a package.xml file which has the type and the name of the components available. So this is just a simple thing, and we can make use of it for moving these things. So this is just a little introduction about the metadata that we have available. Like this is the file-based representation of the custom object, and we can simply recognize the names of the components using the tags that we have available right now. Like the fields is the subtag of the custom object, which is the parent, and this is like just a table of the database, and this is the field that we have as an attribute available. Like we pass the full name, and the default and the label and the type. So we can combine the metadata along with the SOAP API to move the components along with the data that we want. And this is just an example, like we are moving the metadata as well as the data with using this API, and we can use the same organization or the another organization as a source or the destination. So if we just want to get started with this metadata API, we have to set up these components, and we download the WSC file, which is like a web service connector available from the Salesforce, and we make use of it as a class path for converting the WSDL file that we have into the jar files in the Java. And we generate those jar files using this tool, and then we just get the access to the class and the methods that we have for accessing the metadata API. So this is just like the endpoint that we have available is SOAP C31 version. Like this is just endpoint that we have to make calls for getting access to the metadata API for the organization that we are connecting to. So it depends on us. We have two types of organizations, like the sandbox and the production. In case of sandbox, we have to use the test.salesforce.com, and in production we have to use login.salesforce.com. And then we have to have the access to enterprise WSDL as well, and initialize some metadata components like some classes that we have, like custom object, custom field, and then simply call those methods like create, update, or delete on them. So I would like to discuss some best practices and common issues that we have faced while developing some tool in Java. And this is like, these are the three scenarios that I'm going to discuss and going to give some demonstration as well. And this is like creating page layouts or updating them, and editing the profiles, and what issues that we face editing the profiles, and creating the record types, which is again one of the issues if we have to use the CRUD-based metadata API. And this is like if we want to edit the profiles that we have existing already, and we want to make some changes like permission sets and field level security and things like that, then we have to have the access to the API name of those profiles. And we can only get those API names for the profile with the help of list metadata call from the WSC that we have. Otherwise, we are facing some trouble inside, like we cannot get to know what is the exact name of the profile. So this is just a practice that we have to follow while updating the profiles. And again, if we are to create the record types, then we have to follow these three steps. Like we have to add a record type in the record type class available in Java, and then we have to assign the layouts and the profiles that we are accessing for those record types. So these are the three mandatory steps that we have to follow. And again, we have to refresh or update the object that we are in concern for the record types. So this is like easily done in point-and-click features. Like we have simply custom object that then we create the record types using the new button, and then we follow the step-by-step process. But if we are dealing with those things using the programmatic changes, then we have to follow these three steps in CRUD-based operations. And if we, I'm just going back to the slides again. If we somehow just miss any of those points, it is mentioned here as a three-step process, then we can come to know that this is the exception that we are getting after creating those record types. So this is just an exception, and it is hard to deal with this such exception, that why it's happening and what is happening behind the code. So if we face this exception, then we have to keep in mind that we are missing something, and we have to follow these three steps. So I'm going to give some demonstration regarding those three practices. I would like to connect.
Sure. So it's on this machine. You can do the instance. You can log in here. Username password. We want to set it like this. We have to connect to a different laptop. We call them. We can connect on this only. We can log in Salesforce.
We have Eclipse.
Okay. Excuse me. Let me just call them. We have to use a different laptop for the demo.
Yep.
We want to use another laptop for the demo. We want to use another laptop for the demo. Can you set it up? There's another laptop. We have to connect to that. Okay.
This one.
laptop do you want to use?
This one.
That one? What do you use?
I think this one.
No,
You don't have to just put this in.
put this way.
We don't have.
What about this? This one here?
No.
No, this one going.
No, sir.
We need
can
a VGA.
Move this.
We can detach this.
No, you wouldn't have it. You need a VGA.
Okay, yeah.
These ones are not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we shift to this one now?
It's not.
Okay, then number 4.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Thanks.
thanks. So right here you can see that this is the Eclipse ID that we are using for developing this Java-based application, and it is consisting of some classes and some methods that we are making use of some things like using the Metadata API for sort of. So we have a utility class available, and you can see that there are lots of methods available here that we can make use of directly for creating the objects, fields, record types, layouts, and things like that. So if we have to simply create the object and fields right away, then we have a, let's say, this is the, hello, this is the object, so this is the organization that we are in concern with, and it doesn't have any objects right now. And you can see that there are no objects. So we are creating the objects right away using this Java program from the scratch, so that we can see if we are to create the objects and fields and then set the layout and then create the record types, then how we should do that. So this is the application that we have already set and set the infrastructure for this application. Like we have downloaded the WSDL from the organization that we are in concern with, as well as the enterprise WSDL file. Along with, we have converted them into the jar files that you can see right here. I'm highlighting these things like enterprise jar, the metadata jar, and the partner jar. So if we have to create the object, then this is like just a call, like we have the custom object available and we are passing the name as a full name to it, that we have to create this object along with some defaults, like what standard name field is going to be, like it's auto number or it's going to be a text based. So as you can see that this is the part which is in concern, like we are creating a text-based name field for the standard object. For a custom object, that is my custom object. So if we issue the command of executing this application, it should create a custom object named my custom object in the organization. So we have simply passed the username, password along with the token, that is the token that we have got from the Salesforce organization, and then we obtain the session out of it, and then calling those classes with the objects. So if we refresh this, then we can see that a custom object named my custom object 1 is available right now. Now we will create some fields. This is the create field class that we have. And it should create some fields like the city, contact number, the email ID, and the last name. And we have different types of fields available, like we can simply create pick list type fields, the text-based fields, and we can pass the number of characters that we are allowed for those fields. So this is the way. So again, same thing, it is logging into the Salesforce organization and we are getting the session out of it, and then we are calling the metadata calls for creating those fields. Okay, so all of those 5 fields are created successfully, and then we will move forward for updating the layout for the custom object that we are in concern. Like in this code, you can see we are simply updating the layout by calling the utility class that we have and calling the method name update layout. So what this code is doing is, it is simply making use of the update layout call, and we are passing the components and the layout structure as a layout item, and we are passing the components that we have to set for those layout items in that layout. So this is, and I would like to first show that we don't have the layout set for this object, and we can see that if we open this custom object and go to the layouts, then it is not seen that we have all the fields drop down into the layout. So we will create the layout that will drop down all of those fields directly, and in a way that we want. Like we are using the left and the right column based, and we are setting those items into those. So after issuing the command of update layout, so the layout is updated successfully, and you can see that some of the fields have been are available over the layout, like city, contact number, email ID, and the last name in the left and right directions. So what problem that we face in the metadata and we have to follow the best practices is when we create the update the profiles and when we create the record types, then this is the thing like I would like to show here is if we update the profile, let's just create record types first. So we have a class name record type available with us, and we have to simply pass the name of the record type that we want to set, and the API name along with the label name that record type will be sufficing, along with the full name that is like containing the dot notation, like the object name along with the record type name that we have to set for. And there are some attributes of the record types available for us, like we have to make it active, we have to make it default, or we have to set some pick list for those record types, and we have to set those record types for the objects, which objects are going to be set. So this is just like recreating those record types in a way like we are passing the custom object that we have to be in concern with, like this is the custom object that we were, and we are simply issuing this method call create record types. So what it is doing is it is creating some record types that we have passed in the array and then setting them on the profile as a default or whatever we want, like active or inactive. And at last, we are refreshing the object. So I just want to show if we miss any of the step-by-step process, let's say we are not refreshing the object at the end. So I'm just commenting out this code for letting you know that I'm skipping last step, that is I'm just creating the record types and then setting them to the profile, and then just skipping the last step, that is refreshing the object. So all the way down here is we are using the asynchronous calls that we can make use of this in the synchronous calls as well. It is very similar. So we are setting the record types for my custom object, and we have two record types, awesome and the super. Sorry. Yeah, so the status of the record type seems to be completed, and we would like to review them first. So let's jump to the Salesforce organization that we have. And if we review the objects that we have, that is the my custom object 1, and we would like to review the record types, then we can see that these are the two record types available, that is the awesome and the super. And it seems to be active, and we have followed the second step, that is we have updated the profile that it is to be set with the visibility of the record types. So So we have system administration profile right now. So right now you can see that we have the visibility to be true for those two record types that we have created. And now we would like to show you something. So it all seems to be good. We have created the record types. We have set their visibility to be true for the organization. And now we would like to create some records. I should have skipped this point as well. So we are just reassigning the record types again, and you will see the difference in a minute. Sure. So I'm just executing this application again for creating record types, and you can see that it will follow the same steps that we had. And yes. So we have two record types available again, and you can see that those two are active. And then we will review the profile for the record type settings. And it seems to be the same thing. And if we just create the records using the tab, then it would show. The record types are not showing. So the thing is that we have skipped the last step, that is updating the or refreshing the object. That is using the update metadata call. So that is the thing we have to follow using the record types creation. And we also seen that if we are to see update the profiles, then we have to use the list metadata call. Then that is the difference if we have to follow. Yeah. So if we have any questions. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. We will take the questions after the session. So thanks.
Thank you.